Hi, David Halfday here. Got a question for you. Composting, why do it?
Here are some whys. To help make soil. To keep usable organic matter out of our trash facilities. Help get a better microbiology into our current soils. To help save water in the long run. And to help Mother Nature preserve beautiful places like this.
What to compost? In the browns or carbons, we got dried leaves, straw and hay, shrub prunings, pine needles and cones, chopped twigs and branches, corn cobs, stalks, sawdust from untreated wood, and eggshells. The greens are nitrogen, fruits and vegetable scraps, fresh grass clippings, flowers, manures, herbivores only, coffee ground, filters, tea leaves, hedge clippings, garden waste, and fresh leaves.
Okay, now let's talk a little bit just for a moment of when we're building our compost piles of what our objective is, and that is to get to a 30-to-1 carbon to nitrogen ratio as much as possible. You can fluctuate a little bit in there, but the closer you are to that, the faster this is all pretty much break down, and it'll give you the microbiology and nutrients that you're looking for from your compost. So then that's part of the reason for doing what they call lasagna style and layering this like you would a lasagna. And so right now I'm going to spread out the grass that's in here. Right now it's a little dry, so it's probably less nitrogen than I would prefer, but we have some greener fresh cut grass over here and some other stuff. So let's just get started here. First thing I want to do is basically get the grass out to an even layer above my base, which is the leaves and wood chips. And now the one thing about leaves and wood chips, once the leaves dry out, they turn into a carbon material and they're no longer a nitrogen material. And so if you start off with a pile of wood chips that you get from a tree service and it's like fresh cut stuff, you have greens in there, so that can help you in getting started. If you let it set to where it just becomes, a big pile of wood chips, then it's basically going to be most carbon, and you're going to be looking at like a 350-to-1 ratio carbon to nitrogen, and that's what you have to keep the nitrogen in here to break that all down. And so you may need to, as you're doing this, and keep it activated by bringing in more nitrogen until you can get to where you want to be. And once you do this a few times, you'll see what I'm talking about, or what other people talk about when it comes to composting and it breaking down. You can create this thing that you can do this in weeks, days, months, years, depending on how you approach it and how you go about it. Right now what I'm working on has generally been about 12 weeks to get it to where it comes down to a usable thing. Still have to go through and sift it out to get some of the bigger chunks out, because the bigger sticks that you get in there in mulch type stuff, this is going to take a lot longer to break down. If you grind it down or have a wood chipper or something, make it smaller, yeah, it's going to break down faster. But if not, you can leave it in there, toss it into your next pile that you start. Sooner or later, it's all going to be broken down, because that's what Mother Nature does, and that's how she takes care of it. So, okay, we got this layer. Now, because I need more greens, so pardon me as I step in front of you. I'm just, as you can see, I'm not trying to make the grass clippings extremely heavy compared to what you see what I do when I put the wood chips on here. Now, I'm starting with the wood chips. I'm going to just grab from the pile that's already somewhat activated over here. I'm just going to grab from here and layer that. And so I'm just showing you basically how to layer the stuff right now. And when you turn a pile, you want to start from the outside and put it in the middle, and then take your middle and put it to the outside. In doing so, this keeps the pile breaking down. You can keep it activated and going until it breaks down to where you want. What I'm putting on here right now is basically we're in our third week, and you can see that it's already breaking down. It's getting, dark. It's got a decent smell. It's not quite where I want it to be just yet, because probably need quite a few more weeks yet still. So I'm grabbing from the middle of the pile right now, put towards the outer side, and just putting a layer of the carbon part, which is in this case tree trimmings, wood chips, which also had leaves in it, and this has also already had a layer of grass mixed into it for the assist in the nitrogen. So you can see how I'm just kind of layering it up here. Now, I don't want to necessarily bore you with this, so I'll probably speed up some of this here in a little bit. After you lay a layer like this, go ahead and grab your hose. This is one thing at the beginning, you are going to need a lot of water. You just wet this down. Your objective is to get it, they say to get it like a wet sponge, that when you wring it, it gives you a couple drops of moisture out of your hand or out of the sponge, and that's what you're aiming for. You'll notice at the beginning that you're going to have to put a good amount of water on it. So that is the one thing about doing a hot compost, an active composting like this. Just like you and I, we need our water, we need our oxygen, carbon and nitrogen, and that is the four main focuses on composting, are those four things, and which are four main elements of a human being. Okay, so I put a layer on here, and we're going to put another layer of green on here. Now before I put the like vegetables or I would say table scraps, but you don't want oils and meats or dairies into your things. So I a little leery about when you say table scraps, but vegetables, your pre-cut stuff when you're fixing your food, doing your vegetables, and fruits and stuff. Yeah, put all of those cuttings or your peels and all that sort of stuff into your compost, because those will break down and not cause you problems. One of the things you got to be aware of when you're building a compost, you're so to speak inviting Mother Nature, and Mother Nature likes to bring a lot of things with her. She'll bring, depending on what type of food you're providing, depends on what type of critters you get. Now, the last thing I think you want is rodents, flies, all that sort of stuff. And to get away from that, that's where this next step after we're done with this layer will come into play. And you see how I'm building this up though, and then I just kind of pull it out. This is where it's like, if you don't want to use a bin, you don't need to use a bin. One of the tools I have, biggest tool I use, is this pitchfork right here. Got it at Home Depot. You can get it at Home Depot, Lowe's, Amazon, wherever you like to shop. Ace Hardware, do-it-yourself sort of store, wherever you get your tool. I do recommend, if you're going to do it this way, a pitchfork is like a necessary tool. Okay, and I like to, when I'm doing this, when I water it, you notice that I haven't watered the grass part of it. I water which is the nitrogen part. I water the carbon part, which is, in this case, is going to be the wood chips and leaves. And because I'm mixing this from a previous stack, also has grass in it. And so I'll water this down. You may need to, if you're using fresh wood chips and it hasn't been watered yet, you may have to add more water than what I'm adding here right now. You may need to add more water just because the wood chips haven't absorbed any of the water yet. And that's what you're trying to get to, is this material absorbing the water. And you're adding the water now so you don't have to add it later once you start putting it into your soils as much. Because once this is into your soils, it helps your soils retain the moisture. It helps build the soil below by providing the plants with the proper microbiology and stuff that they need. Okay, so now we're going to go into adding our food scraps. And I got a bucket here full of carrots, corn, looks like zucchini, some other stuff. Now generally what I would like to do on this is just grind this all down. Less likely to get rodents wanting to dig in through here, but by putting it into a hot compost, no animal really wants to jump into a pile that's getting up to 140, 160 degrees. So that's one of the reasons for getting it hot and keeping it up there for a while. The stuff will break down pretty quickly. You can just pile it in, spread it out, but you want to put this in the middle of your stack, or like I'm doing down here. You've seen a couple other layers. I want to put this in to where it's not doing that. I'm then just going to spread it out a little bit, keeping it away from the edges as much as possible. I don't want to invite flies. I do not want to invite rodents into here. So I'm going to do that, and then we're going to add another layer of grass here again. So. All right. How you doing? Okay, we got our grass, we got our vegetables. We'll add some more of my wood chips and stuff. My carbon material, as you would say. And spread that out. And you see how I'm building it up in layers? That's what I would suggest when you're building your things, is to build it in layers. Add water. Now I could add a layer of cow manure, chicken manure, and I would do that basically on top of the carbon part, because that stuff is the nitrogen elements. Could add layers of coffee ground. If I had coffee grounds right now, I'd be adding a layer on top of this with coffee grounds. Trying to think of all the rest of the stuff I think we listed. We got grass clippings, you got coffee grounds, manures to build in there to help break the carbon down. You can make this, like I said, it can be as simple as wood chips, some leaves, fresh leaves for greens, and then some grass clippings. You could make it dry leaves and grass clippings. You can come up with your own mixtures, and try to see what works best for you, what works best for your area, what resources you have, and then where to go from there. So after this watering, I'm going to stop here. I think you should be able to get the gist of the idea. Once you're done finishing the water, I like to put a covering on top of it just to keep the water from evaporating off of it. You can use a tarp, you can use cardboard. I use cardboard around here a lot just because it breaks. To me, I feel like it's a natural covering, and it then also helps cardboard break down to where if I'm going to throw it at the bottom of a pile, all the glues that are in cardboard will have broken down in time there, and it becomes a better source for your bottom layer if you're trying to ward off grass or other things when you start your garden. So, all right, well, we've got this watered. You've seen how this part's done. Now it's just a matter of building it up to about 3 feet. And so that case, let's walk down here for just a second. I have a pile over here. This pile here is one that's activated. Hopefully you see that okay. And I have a thermometer in here. Now let's see if I can get that down close enough for you to see. As you can see, this pile's at 160 degrees. Looks like I'm in heaven with this one because it is right where I want it to be. That's keeping it activated. It kills the pathogens. That keeps the pile hot and moving. And just FYI, when you pull the thermometer out, it's hot. So be careful with that. This is just a little thermometer. You can get bigger thermometers. I think this one runs you probably about 20 bucks. I forget. I didn't buy this one. Friend Russell, who's helping me with the composting, bought this so we could check our temperatures here, because you kind of want to monitor temperature. I tend to do it by feel just because I played around with enough stuff that I know where the heat's at. So I just kind of play it by feel. I know I can go up to 130 reaching in and not worry about it. You're not going to burn yourself at 160. Your hand's going to get red. It's going to be hot. You're not going to want to stick your hand in there for very long. But it's not like you're sticking it into a boiling pot of water or sticking it over a stove or anything. So, and there are many uses that you could use a hot compost like that for if you live up in a colder part of the country or in a colder climate. And we'll get into that maybe in a later video. So anyway, that's it. That's part of the how to do it. Where you do it, well, you can do it. This is where the Dr. Seuss comes in. You can do it here. You can do it there. You can do it anywhere. You can do it in a bucket. You can do it in a bin. You can do it happy, or no, I don't know. Let's stop there. My daughter's a Dr. Seuss person, so I had to kind of throw that in. But anyway, all right, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed the video. Do me a favor, hit the subscription button down below and the notification button, and then leave your comment and share this with friends if you have somebody that think you might enjoy this video. Help me, I guess, build this up so I can get this information out to more people, so we can start doing things from a community standpoint. And please leave a comment and ask me questions, what you have, so I can come back with other stuff that you're interested in, because it's not about necessarily me, it's about us, and it's about what we do together. And when we put ourselves together to do something, we can do something great. And that's where I'd like to get to, is putting ourselves together, putting ourselves out there. And for me, putting myself out there, is a little bit of a challenge, but I'm doing it, trying. So hopefully you're not too hard on me here. But anyway, talk to you later. Have a great day.